In this video, we'll create a web development environment on our local server stack that simulates our production web environment. To do this, we'll modify our ets_hosts file to redirect our domain locally. So the web server I have running is Nginx. Now, say we download a domain configuration from Nginx from a production server. So from our web servers running on something, let's say example.com. So I have this example.ngx for Nginx, this configuration for Nginx. So this says we're running this server on example.com, and it's serving it out of var www example. And it's running on listening on port 80 for this site. Now that we have that, let's say we've downloaded this from our server example.com, and we want to run it locally and test and develop a new website before we upload it to our production server. So we'll quit out of this. Now we'll want to make sure that we'll need sudo make dir var www example. And now we'll want to change the ownership, so change group to www data of var www example. And now we can do sudo vim var www example. And this is where our index.html should reside. We could say hello from example.com, which is running locally. Now, to do so, we need to copy this configuration file into our Nginx config locally. So we can do sudo cp example.ngx to Nginx sites available. Now this just puts it in the available sites. It's not in the enabled sites where Nginx will look to try and load the configuration when it's restarted. So to do that, we'll create a symbolic link, sudo ln-s, our source file, which is now sites available example.ngx, and we'll put this link in our destination sites enabled example.ngx. So that's created our link. Now before we start a service, well, we need to modify our host file, so sudo vim ets_hosts, and we want to tell our host file that when our computer sees example.com, instead of going out to the web and looking up the DNS entry for this, well, it's going to intercept it before it gets that far and redirect it to 127.0.0.1, our local computer and our local version of Nginx. So let's save this and write it and quit. Okay, so now that we've saved that, we can restart Nginx because we put our new configuration for example.com in. So sudo service Nginx restart. It's restarted okay. So now if we go to our web browser, now if we go to localhost, it returns whatever's running on localhost right now. So this is from some other example, from some other directory. So if I look in ls var www default, it's serving this index.php. But if I go to example.com, our host file will redirect it locally, and it will be served from Nginx out of var www example. And the file it's serving is example index.html. So this matches up what our web browser is serving. So let's say we make changes to this our website here locally. We FTP it or copy it to some remote server to the real example.com out there on some web server. So after we do that, we go back into our ets_hosts file, remove this example.com from our local host here. So we remove example.com from our hosts file. And then if we type it in again, it will go to the actual website, example.com. Now I might have to restart Firefox for that to take effect. And if I do example.com, still seeing the local one. I might have to restart. But when you make that change, when you remove it from your hosts file, let me exit I'll log out and log in again just to verify this. I'll log out. Now when we log back in, we'll load up our web browser. I'll type in example.com. And it loads the actual contents of the example.com website. And that concludes this demo on local domains through the etshost file and setting up a website in Nginx.